You know, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.
Welcome to Above the Garage, a Nick and June, the Handmaid's Tale podcast.
Hi, friends, and welcome to our spoiler-free analysis of Season 2, Episode 6, which is entitled First Blood. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Ginger.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Violet.
Hi, I'm Tina.
And I'm Kate. So this episode, the last episode ended with Nick holding June, drenched in blood and screaming in silence. The audio went out. And now this one opens in a bright hospital room with the doctor talking to Serena and reassuring her about her baby, which is slightly infuriating. But it turns out the problem was a subchorionic hematoma, which are common. And Serena suggests using estrogen, and he says, we'll do that. We'll consider that if we need to. But he's clearly not worried. But then again, he wasn't worried at their last visit either. So I don't know.
Was that the same doctor from 2-1? It was, right? I thought he looked familiar.
From season 1.
Season 1. He's the one that offered initially.
Right, okay.
To help make the baby with her.
This guy kind of concerns me though. Because he's like, oh, no big deal that there was a lot of blood. Meanwhile, she's like, seemed like she lost half her blood volume and she was almost dead outside. So like, clearly mental health is just not something they care about.
And that was after she was bathing in a bathtub full of blood. It wasn't like pink water. It was like red water. She's lost a lot of blood in that, 24 hours or whatever. Yeah. And then he peeks around the divider they're trying to pretend isn't there to address actual mother and says, did you have any complications with your first pregnancy? And she says, you mean with Hannah? And he says, I mean with your first pregnancy, because you're just a vessel, right?
Yep.
And she said she came 2 weeks early, actually. It's close enough, praise be. And he says there needs to be peace in your house. And this is the first sign, though, like that Serena has any, like, I don't know, this is the first time you've ever seen Serena be a human being, basically. So she opens the divider and asks June if she wants to see. And it's like, whoa, who's this new person? And it's sad, though, for June. Happy and sad to watch her baby on the screen, flipping around. And once again, June has a single tear. She's like the master of the single tear sliding down her face. Yeah. I mean, seriously, like,
she's really good at that.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, it does.
It's effective. She says hello to the baby,
which I think was important though, because obviously the last episode, part of the reason why that all happened is because she wasn't connecting with the baby because of everything going on. So I feel like her actually getting to see it move on the screen was really important, at least especially for her mental health, to see it move, and it's real now. It's not just like something in there,
I think so too.
And also to go back to Serena being nice to her in this moment, that's what she does, right? That's how she abuses June whenever she needs something from her, or she feels she can be useful. In this case, she's carrying, her baby, air quotes there.
Right.
She's nice to her. She shows her humanity. And then something will happen and they'll cycle back. It's just a constant cycle of abuse that they go through with her.
Yeah, it's classic cycle of abuse. And but I feel like in this episode she goes a little further into the nice.
She was really trying, I think.
She was really trying.
Yeah, like really trying. I agree, yes. But
she can't succeed at that, it seems.
She tried until she couldn't, and then when she can't, that's it. It's done.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
When things don't go the way she wants, she changes.
Right. Yeah.
So then they go home and Serena takes off June's cloak, hangs it up. And I'm just like, Serena, what did you think was going to happen? Like, this was the most predictable path in the universe. Your first handmaid killed herself. She wasn't even pregnant, and you didn't marry, a billion other things you didn't do to her that you did to June. And it's just so frustrating to me for her to be like, oh, her life is in danger. Okay, I'm going to be super nice now. Like, you literally drove her to death, basically. Anyway, sorry.
I have a question. So, when they come back from the hospital, do you think Nick drove them back? I always wonder because he's going to come in a minute and he doesn't act like he's seen her. I'm curious what your opinions are. Do you think he drove them back from the hospital? I don't feel like he did.
I don't think so.
But
that's weird. Yeah.
I don't think so, but who else would have done it? Just
right.
Uber, maybe?
Right. I don't know. I was just thinking, and when they came in, it just crossed my mind. Did he bring them back from the hospital?
Yeah, it's a good question because he should have, but I agree that their interaction does not imply that they'd seen each other.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they hadn't talked, and that's the interaction. Maybe that they were finally alone. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So Rita hugs June. She's super happy to see her, and June looks at Eden like now she's to like re-accept Eden's existence.
I feel like she was kind of like happy because she got to see her baby and she's feeling better, and then she saw Eden and her face. It was like she got punched in the gut or something.
Right. And Serena asks Rita to make her a smoothie, and June uses her new power and says, no, it's hard on my stomach. And Serena's like, oh, no need to apologize. How about some soup? And Eden offers to help make the soup, and Rita is like, wonderful. Like, you can tell Rita's being such a bitch to her. I guess Rita also kind of needs someone to be a bitch to because her life sucks, and Serena's bitchy to her. And Serena offers for June to move into the sitting room so she doesn't have to climb the stairs. And June's looking out the window in the sitting room when Nick comes in, and he says June in the way he does that I love.
Oh, goodness.
I know. And she says, I'm fine. We're fine. And he says, you scared me. I scared myself. They've got you sleeping in here. She made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And they're doing their cute jokes between them again. Like, come very far away from the last two episodes where he couldn't find her, searching into her eyes. She's fully back, and they're fully like bantering and cute again, and it's adorable.
I want to point out that I'm very bitter about this, but
I was going to say that.
There's a behind the scenes picture where actually touching her belly, and I'm very angry, and I'll never stop being angry that we never get to see that.
Yeah, guys, please, more wide lens shots. We love the close-ups, but you can do both. And
I was going to say, just pull the camera back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Like, especially when she was pregnant. Like, why couldn't we have one shot of his hand on her belly? That's all.
And we get two of Serena.
Exactly.
0 of Nick, 2 of Serena.
Oh my God, Violet, you're right.
I have a note for later on. Yeah, in this episode, I'm like, everybody gets 2. Everybody.
Yeah, Fred even.
Except Nick.
Anyway. Just pull the camera back, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there is a photo.
Especially in this moment, though, where he's like seeing her and her and the baby almost died. Like,
he's so worried, and he puts his hands on her belly. Everyone, they just don't show us in the show. We'll put the photo on Twitter. By the way, let me take this moment to say we do post daily on Twitter and Instagram new content, so come check us out at Above Garage Pod on Twitter and Above the Garage on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, sorry, proceed.
No, his you scared me too is the biggest understatement of the century.
Oh my gosh.
When he walks in, you scared me. Just a smidge, Nick. Scared?
He was so desperate, and then it ended in that scene. Another thing I'd like to see is the time between him and the garden with her, where where he finds her, and she's leaning all over him, and what happened next. Did he carry her inside? Did they hear him screaming over the rain? Did he drive her to the hospital? Anyway, we're never going to see that, but it's one of those things I think about.
Yep, all the time.
This whole scene, and actually this whole episode, he is just so like bold about talking to her, to like literally his wife and Serena are in the next room, and he's just like having an open conversation with her,
to a completely
like, calling her real name.
Yes.
Yeah. His brain was
around the house,
fully broken in this episode.
Basically chasing her around the house. Yeah.
Well, he just got her back from the dead, so he
just doesn't care.
Yeah, that's all.
That is actually one of my notes. I said he's clearly not in his right mind at all, because also, he says, I'll come see you tonight. What was he thinking? Like in the middle of the living room? There's no privacy.
I know. Plus,
dude, he was not in his right mind. He was just desperate to see her and make sure she was okay. He wasn't thinking.
Well, yeah, again, like she was dead to him probably in those moments. And then all of a sudden she's back, and he's just, Sorry. Okay. So he says, okay, I'll come see you tonight, like you said, which seems a little ridiculous, but I love it. And she moves away then and says, she looks like sweet and sad, like all at once, and says, what about Mrs. Blaine? What is her bedtime anyway? And he says, I didn't have a choice. And I love her looks on her face during the scene. Like I've never seen her act quite like this before, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's flirty.
But I feel like she does that though, because I do think she recognizes, like in this scene, that he's really affected by what happened,
Yeah.
It felt like a break, like she was trying to quote unquote break up with him, like in 108.
I have that in my notes.
Yeah. It was like 2 seconds. She was like, we can't keep sneaking around. And then 2 seconds later, she's like, we have to be careful. And she's smiling, like she has that banter. And it was just funny to me. Like, she's like, what is she trying to do? Is she trying to break up with him? But she really didn't mean it.
Yeah, because it's like the reverse. She was saying the same thing to him that he was saying in 108, basically. He was saying we have to be careful. And now she's saying it back to him.
But she's not saying it very convincingly to me. Like, I don't think she's trying to break up. She's just saying the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Because she knows realistically it's just not going to happen. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So basically, I think she corrects herself when she says we have to be smart.
Instead.
Because it's like, okay, we're not actually going to break up, especially because I'm pregnant with your child. But let's at least not.
You just can't come to the sitting room tonight.
Yeah, right. Let's just not get ourselves killed. That's all.
And this is when he gets like the most vulnerable ever. And he steps towards her and he says, I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time. And the banter continues through the like sweet vulnerability. Well, don't. Okay, I'll stop.
Well, I was going to say, I love really quick how he's like, because she says we have to be smart. And he's like, yeah, okay. But anyways.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to humor you. But anyways, I'm going to tell you that I think about us.
I do love that too. And I love her expression when he says, okay, I'll stop. And her like the eye roll and the sideways look. And
right.
Perfect between them. And then Nick's like shuddery breath. He's trying not to cry or whatever. Yeah. It's just heavy with emotion, let's say. It's a heavy situation.
Which I feel like June, like, she's got a lot more to worry about, I guess, in a way than Nick, because like obviously her situation sucks being a handmaid, and now she's pregnant and she's going through a lot. And I feel like, he's always been very open about his feelings and how he feels about her, because basically his focus is just June, right? Whereas June is worrying about like herself and everything else. So I feel like she's always kind of,
and Hannah,
she's got like this self-preservation about her, about the way she feels. And I think that's the reason why he always seems to be able to express how he feels and she doesn't. And I feel like you see that in this scene where she's kind of like holding back a little bit, and he's putting his heart out there and telling her, like, I think about us as a family and what we can be. And he's got that shaky breath, which I feel like she realizes that he's not okay. And to me, like, I think that's why she says she thinks about them too. I think that's her kind of breaking through her self-preservation to let him know, like, put her heart out there and tell him, like, this is important to me too.
I think it's a big moment for him too, though, because I feel like up until now we see how in love they both are, and even more so Nick to June in their body language. But isn't this the first time Nick really lays it all out there and he's like this vulnerable? Not only was I worried about you, all I think about is you and our baby. Like, he literally admits he's driving Fred around and like daydreaming about going to the playground with June and baby.
And he's saying this as he had just got married like a couple days ago, and his wife is there. Like, he's telling her, like, look, you were my family, not this other girl,
Yeah. I mean, she's not even like a speck in his mind, unfortunately, until he goes back to the apartment and he can't help. But yeah.
But I think it's the first time she also kind of opens up verbally to him as well in this episode. So that, and you can see his reaction. He wasn't expecting that either. So it shocked him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a point I had, is he doesn't ever expect anything back from her, right? Like, he loves and gives and supports her, but he doesn't really expect anything in return. He knows she had a life before him. And then when she says back, I think about it too, it absolutely floors him. And I think that's what pushes him then to do more, to be more, to be a better person. And, you know, I truly think if it was safe at that moment, after she said that, he would have been like, all right, let's go, and like loaded him up in the truck and ran. Like, you know, it's a beautiful moment between the two of them, and one of my absolute favorites. I love it so much.
Mine too. And thank you, show. We do get the wide angle for 1/2 of a second. And when Rita walks in, and we get to see that Nick and June are actually holding their hands there. So our question from the last episode about, does Rita know? Well, now she knows. Now.
Yeah.
It's also super crazy because you can hear like Rita kind of like makes some noise coming to her, and she's not totally silent. And they're still standing there until she clears her throat. And it's like, you didn't just hear the footsteps coming in that could have literally been anyone in this house, and y'all are just standing there holding hands. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It goes back to Nick is out of his mind.
They're just so out of it. Yeah, it's great. I love all that. I love every time they are like just ignoring their surroundings. It's great to me. I mean, fortunately, they didn't get caught, but you know,
there was like a 25% chance that it was safe for them to do that, and they lucked out. So you're absolutely right. That's insane. That could have been it, but it's sweet, and I love that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, they go back to the joking too with Rita when she comes in. You know, Nick smells good. Where's mine? Ask your wife. And you know, June smiles again, and it's so lighthearted and just beautiful. The whole scene is great.
It's one of those tiny little moments of normalcy again, like that's all they can cling to. So like these silly jokes and the eye rolling, and like obviously he's amused by her eye rolling and that she's laughing and not, you know, because you know very recently she was ready to kill herself over everything. So I think it probably also makes him feel better to see her laughing and back to her old self.
Yeah,
but up to this point, they weren't taking the whole wife thing seriously. I mean, it obviously gets seriously as the episode progressed, but they were like, yeah, whatever.
I'm glad they had the moment to do that, though. I don't know. Tina, did you have want to talk about the script notes here?
Yes. So the script, it was actually June's, I think about it too, is actually scripted to go on longer than that. She was also supposed to say, you made a great father, Nick. And then he was supposed to look touched, which I think he did. He nailed that.
Yeah, he did.
But that you'd be a great father will actually come back into play later throughout this. As we go through the episode, we'll come back to that line. But I think it's actually interesting they cut it here because it comes back in a very relevant way later.
Yeah, so when Rita says, you know, he says, where's my, smells good, where's mine? And Rita says, ask your wife. And then Nick turns and does his like silently amused face at June. June gives him a funny, like, yeah, what she said kind of look. And it's just cute. And then they flash to Fred, who is supervising the construction of the new Red Center, which is apparently opening in 2 days. And Lydia comments on how handmaids and wives are always at odds, but he was blessed with particularly willful pair of Serena and June.
Yeah, it's putting it lightly.
It is. I like that. And Lydia suggests he should prepare to handle things if need be. And then the commanders are talking about the news center. Price, they're kind of talking shit to him. Price thought they'd be further along by now, and Fred is defensive and says 2 days is more than enough time. And now they go to, like, what is the purpose of that scene? Just to prepare us for the opening?
I guess, but like I noticed that Price, like in the scene in the episode before, like he's not too fond of these commanders. You know, like you see the tension there, and he does not like Fred. Also, what was up with Fred's suit? I don't know if you guys noticed. I don't know if it bothered me the whole time I was watching the show, because all the commanders are all in black and he has this herringbone, like all flashy. He seems like he's going to go on a yacht. I have no idea.
How did I not notice that?
Yeah, he stuck out like a sore thumb, I guess, because he's trying to show off, you know. He was showing off with the Rachel and Leah Center, and I guess that's what it means. It just, I don't know, it bothered me.
Yeah. Then they flash to Eden and Nick in his apartment, and she's just trying to make him happy. Do you like your potatoes roasted that way? Yeah. First of all, Sydney Sweeney is amazing. And by the way, she's actually 20 years old, right? The actress when she filmed this?
22, maybe?
She's legal. She's of legal age, but
she was definitely way older than 15.
Right. But they did a good job of making her look younger for it. And yeah, so she's saying, do you like your potatoes roasted that way? And Nick's been nice. He's like, they're good, they're fine, they're delicious. And she's like, do you want to know the secret? And he's like, sure. Like, he is trying. Then he's like, you know, it must be hard for your family, or for, I don't know if he was saying you away from your family or for your family. And she reaches
for
over.
her being,
I think, for her being away.
And she reaches over and says, "You're my family now," and tries to like hold his hand, and he just stares at it,
His
like
stare,
super disturbed.
the 1,000-yard stare at the hands, like, I can't believe this is my life.
It hurts so much because he just told June that her and their baby is his family, and now she's like, no, but we're a family now.
Yes. Yeah.
This whole scene, I feel like especially up until the point when she takes his hand, I feel like he's treating her like he would speak to a teenager, like he would speak to a child of a friend, right? Or something.
Exactly.
Like it's very like uncle like or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it gets creepy, obviously, from her side. Like he gets like really uncomfortable when she starts coming closer. But I feel like it's kind of nice at the beginning because you can tell he's like trying to like connect with her as like a
make her feel welcome as exactly. That's exactly, I think they played it really well in that way, because I felt the same way. Like I was like, oh, he's being like a nice, like you said, like an uncle, or she's a house guest, whatever,
older brother or something.
Exactly. And then she reaches over and touches him and everything changes.
But I have to say though, we have to give a major shout out to Max in this episode,
for sure.
His facial acting, I mean, he's always so good at it, but like obviously there's so much going on with the way he feels towards her.
I can't say.
He's so good. Like you could tell he's so scared of her in a way. But he's like being observant, and he's worried, and he's uncomfortable. Like you could see all the emotions on his face.
And he does that perfect thing where like you can tell who he's talking. Like if you just saw him only in the scene, you'd know who he's talking to, because he has like a different way of acting around each person.
Oh, right.
And it's like some of the expressions that he makes in the scene with Eden are like things you've never like seen him do with his face before. It's like a new thing. Like it's just like because of the situation with Eden. Like it's a different mask he's wearing, kind of,
Yeah. He can't fake the kindness. I mean, he's kind, but he can't fake the connection, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Not what she's looking for.
Yeah, he's trying, like he's really trying his best, and I do think that, but he did not want to lead her on at all and let her think she was anything more to him than what she was, which was,
a young girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Child,
that he had no interest in.
I think that's when he realizes, when she proposes him, like, I know what's expected of me. That was the key. Like he looks horrified when she says that. And I was going to ask Ginger if she noticed the lighting in that scene, and
I did.
Yeah,
pretty much it was like white.
Yeah, like right across her face.
It was white. It was cold, but it was like cold. It was raining and it was cold. It wasn't the typical yellow warm light that we see when we see Nick and June.
Not the happy light, the happy Nick and June light.
In contrast to the scene with them before, where it was very light and like soft with them in the sitting room. Yeah.
I mean, they show June's face like looking out the window, and it's like angels, like like angelic light.
Yeah.
Well, the way the light is across her face, it's also kind of like a separating kind of thing too, because it's like she's like in this weird like ribbon of light, and then he's on the other side. It's interesting.
Lighting in the show. It's good.
But I do feel like in this scene, like especially when she says like what's expected of me, and I do wonder if he was even really thinking about like sleeping with her at this point. Like maybe I feel like
he's blocking it out.
He's maybe in denial, or just not even thinking that's even going to happen, and then all of a sudden she's like bringing it up. And I think this is where the slow realization is starting of him seeing that like she's very pious and she's serious about this, whereas he has not been serious.
Before this, I don't know that he's talked to her enough to realize she's a full like Gilead believer.
I mean, they had a very good excuse, right? Like the handmaid was dying. There was no time to worry about anything, but now things have settled down so they can get back to business as usual.
And then he gets up to smoke. By the way, he also tried to take his dish to the sink, and she's like, no, it's my job. So like just everything is telling you she's a full Gilead believer. And then he gets up to smoke, and she's like, no, you can smoke in here. It's your house. You can do whatever you want, which is exactly what's wrong with his life now. He doesn't have anywhere to be himself or do what he wants. So it's funny.
No privacy at all.
No, nothing.
Random aside, did anybody happen to see what the cigarettes said? Like I tried to look.
Oh no,
I need to zoom in on my computer, but I couldn't really see it on the TV.
Well, so if they're black market, you can't smoke in Gilead, right?
It has to be black market, right?
Yeah.
But Serena's look different though, so I kept wondering, like, because hers are like those like thin.
Like
almost looks like she rolled them herself or something. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
See that she could do that. And then it flashes to June in the sitting room, and her hair is down. Serena's sitting down to knit, and she's clearly like looking at her like, "Are you really staying? Is this happening?"
I think the hover is like freaking her out.
Yeah, of course. Everything's freaking her out. The way Serena's acting, like, I prefer you act like yourself, ma'am.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. You're pretty terrible.
Well, yeah, I mean, the woman who just basically like brutally, emotionally, and mentally abused you in the last episode, now all of a sudden is like going out of her way to be super nice. Like it's creepy.
It is very creepy. So Serena tells June to get comfortable, and she's like, and she does, and then she sits back up. She's like, I think I can manage. And Serena's like, well, what happens if you need something? I'll be right here. And then she apologizes about the needles clicking, and June says, it's not that, it's just hard to get comfortable because of, she's getting pretty pregnant. And they bond over, Serena asks if she remembers pregnancy pillows, and June says those are sweet. And Serena repeats the slang and says, I'll look into getting one for us.
Ugh.
Tina, in your script notes, I did note, like, I wondered in this scene, I'm like, is she really just being like super nice back? But I think your script note said that she was manipulating Fred and Serena throughout the episode.
Yeah, you can tell later. I feel like
later it's more obvious. So I was just curious.
Yeah, in the scripts, I have it further down.
Okay. But
it did say all throughout the script, it was very obvious that June was playing them, manipulating,
because she saw that she could. Right.
Yeah.
When Serena says like, what if you need something? Was she seriously planning on sitting there all night?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Because isn't she asleep
She's still
later?
there. Yeah. She's still there when she wakes up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's crazy.
But I thought it was interesting in this scene because usually Serena like is obviously jealous of June. But when they were talking about the pregnancy pillow thing, I felt like she was almost more like wistful and not really jealous.
I know she wanted to hear the actual experience. Listen, like, if it were not for the fact that Serena became irredeemable to me in the previous episode, I would almost like her in the first half of this episode. Luckily, it only lasts for like 5 seconds. So
you almost feel bad for her. Almost.
I didn't feel bad for her still, did I? I don't know. There was just a moment of a weird new feeling about her that I rejected.
It's more like a confusion of like, what am I feeling now? What is this feeling?
Well, and then the flashbacks, honestly, there's more flashbacks in this episode. And they, again, just make me feel like you did this to yourself, which is what all the flashbacks do. That's true. So
I think what I feel is I would like to see Yvonne in a nice role, like this 5-minute version of Serena. Yvonne's amazing. All right. So she said, offered what's it like to feel that life inside of you. And June says, there's nothing much happening right now, but if you want, you can come and feel it. And she says it really nicely. And June helps guide her hand to where the baby's kicking. And they agree that it's a miracle. And I believe that is the closest that they've ever been in their lives, like that moment. And then it flashes to Serena practicing a speech at a university. And Fred keeps changing her words, like slowly starting to take power, maybe. But they both agree to start a conversation, not a lecture. And as they walk in, it's super loud. She's being booed. It actually seems like everyone is there to protest.
Actually, just backing up for a second, I thought it was really funny that Fred kept trying to like control what she was going to say, and she just shut him down immediately. And it's just funny how the roles are reversed now, where she doesn't have that power.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating because she, as we've said a billion times, creates this for herself and whatever.
She also made Fred. So, you know, Fred wouldn't be what he is without Serena. And he made sure to push her to the side because he liked that power that now he had that he didn't have before. That power, Serena had it. So, yeah.
So the lecture hall is super loud. She's being booed. It seems like everyone's there to protest. They're calling her things like Nazi cunt, fascist bitch. And then a man rushes her off the stage saying that it's not safe. And it's very entertaining to me that Fred is yelling, she has a right to speak. This is America. which was true of America, Fred. But you believe that.
I have that in my notes, like rich coming from them, the people who wanted to build a place where she could not speak. She could not read. But this is America. She has a right to speak.
Well, this speaker even says, like, to the students, like, you have the freedom to express your own opinion. And it's just ironic because you have the two people here who spearheaded Gilead, basically.
Trying to remove that.
And took away their freedom to express their opinion.
Yeah.
I think the scene, the way that it was filmed is it hits very close to home because we've seen that in the news. You know, the way those protests are when people want to speak or people from the other side, and the resist posters were like, when I saw it last night, I was like, oh shit, this it's like present time.
It's stuff that's happening right now.
It's stuff that's happening right now. It's scary and it's like
Crazy.
Really fucked up. And you can see there's followers too. Like,
no, you're right. They're wearing the like Gilead. They have the shirts with the like Gilead, the little like bird. I don't know. It's called the little bird logo on them. I saw them. Yeah.
So then June sneaks into the kitchen late at night, and I'm wondering if she went because she heard someone in there and thought it might be Nick, or if she was just genuinely really thirsty, like she said.
I always got the impression that she assumed he was in there because he mentioned he was going to come see her later, even though she told him not to.
Yeah, I thought she thought it was Nick, but
it just seemed like she was getting up from the couch as a response to some, like hearing a sound or something in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I might be remembering that wrong, but that's what it seemed like to me.
No, that's what I thought. There's definitely a sound, so I think that is what it was. They don't place those there for nothing. And you, like you said earlier, Serena is still asleep on the couch, so she's definitely still doing her hovering. And she comes in, and it's Fred, and she decides to confront him and says, "Are you mad at me?" And kind of clearly he is, and says, "Why would you ask?" And she says, "Because we haven't talked. What's there to talk about?" And she says, "It's just been so long." And then you can tell, like, from that point forth, that she's clearly just manipulative June.
But I feel like she's different, though, because usually when she's manipulating him, like, she gets that voice.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know. I feel like she was manipulating him here, but she just didn't seem like maybe her heart wasn't in it, you know? Like, she didn't seem like she was acting like she did in season 1 as strongly.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Almost overall, that's why I noted that I thought when she said it's just been too long that maybe it snuck in there a little, but I actually totally agree with you that overall I was perplexed myself because it doesn't sound like her Fred voice, you know?
Yeah, it felt a little more
actual.
I don't want to say genuine,
friendly. Yeah,
it felt more like, I like to say it like it's June versus Offred. It felt more like June and not Offred, if that makes sense.
I kind of feel like she like leveled up her manipulation too, though. Like, because she kind of sounds more genuine with Serena too. Like, it's almost like she went like, okay, well, that first level didn't work. So let's notch it up. Yeah. To like the next.
Yeah, that's a good point, because Tina, you said the script said that they made it clear that she was manipulating them. But I do feel like I've seen this comment from people a lot, being confused over June in this episode, because it doesn't feel as manipulative as has been in the past.
And we lost the voiceovers too, so it's a little hard. Like, you have to just watch it and kind of gauge what's going on more than you used to. I have an aside right here to add about
go for it.
About Fred just eating rich person's Lunchables in the kitchen
with the giant knife. I was super unnerved by him holding the knife.
Like, he's literally just cutting pieces of bread, cheese, and meat.
Can I just say that my kids eat Lunchables like every day, so I really love that you just said rich person.
That's literally what it looked like to me. I was like, man, he's like drinking a glass of milk, and it just reminded me of, like, you know, me just bumming around my kitchen in my underwear, like looking for like cold cuts at night. Like, that's
all right. So okay. So she says it's just been so long, and they joke about Aunt Lydia, and he says, "You look healthy to me. Pregnancy suits you." And he calls Serena her guardian angel, and June says she's been very kind and smiles at him like it's a joke between them.
But I thought her face in this whole episode, her reaction just cracked me up, because as soon as he called Serena her guardian angel, like, she was struggling to keep a straight face.
Yes.
She's like the anti-guardian angel.
Right.
I just had a thought about guardian angel, because I remember I said in the season 1 finale that Nick was basically like, he's her own personal guardian.
Yes.
Right. So it's like he's her guardian angel, but Fred it's just laughable, I guess, that he calls Serena that, because
she actually has one living in the house, and it is definitely not her.
Yeah. And Nick's the one that literally found her in the garden and saved her life. But Serena, sure, she's the guardian angel. Got it. Yeah.
But Serena pushed her there, basically.
Yeah. Right.
I got to circle back to something. So when June is standing at the table next to Fred, and he's like offering her some food, and she's like, she turns it down because she's like, "Oh, Aunt Lydia, you know, like we have to like watch what you eat and be careful and everything." And he's like, "Oh, I think you look something." I don't remember exactly the phrasing. And then there's like this awkward shot of like her boobs, and you can tell that he's like looks down at her boobs and he's like, I think you look healthy, or you look healthy to me, or something like that. And it's
You
super
look healthy to me.
creepy.
Pregnancy suits you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just had to point out how creepy that was.
Yes, and we will see more of that later. Then I go see Eden coming to the sitting room and telling June how Nick won't sleep with her. She says Nick hates her. He thinks she's ugly, and June says, no, he doesn't. You're pretty. This is all new to him too.
My favorite part, I think, of this whole episode, besides the sweet Nick and June scene, is June rolling her eyes when Eden is like, oh, I'm ugly. Like, it's like she was thinking, like, I have way more important things to worry about than this literal teenage girl telling me, like, I'm ugly because this boy doesn't like me. The boy who is actually the love of June's life.
Right.
And she's such a teenager too. Like, that's such a teenager thing. Right. I'm ugly. He doesn't like me. Like, just another reminder that she is in fact still a child.
Yeah.
And this whole scene is kind of similar. It's like a real good parallel to the Nick scene, because June is so like, I mean, kind of motherly, but also kind of like big sisterly towards Eden in the scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I feel like they both react to her in a very similar way.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, because she is a child. And June says this is all new to him too. He's just trying to be respectful, give it time. And Eden says, we can't wait. It's our duty to God. And you can see June realize now, like, how brainwashed she's been by Gilead. And that's obviously a great danger to them.
But I think it's sad too, though, because I feel like Eden it almost seems like she's looking for somebody to guide her, because her mother, I guess, taught her what to do, but she's still a 15-year-old girl now on her own in this new situation. And I feel like she's trying to seek people out. And it's just, I feel like, you want to get annoyed with Eden, but if you take a step back, like, this is horribly sad what this girl is going through,
it's awful.
Innocent and brainwashed.
Yeah.
And it's this, when you said that about like looking for someone to talk to, like, when she first came into the room, she was looking for Serena, and Claudia pointed this out. Like, imagine if she'd had that exact conversation with Serena that she had with June.
Oh, I didn't know.
Like, that was who she was looking for to talk to, right? So good coincidence.
Yeah. Oh.
Which Serena did talk to her in the last episode on what was supposed to be her wedding night.
Yeah. But like, if she had said that she thought Nick was a gender traitor, like, to Serena and all of that,
my
that
God.
conversation.
Yeah.
A lot worse.
Like, he won't sleep with me and like all that. Yeah.
Well, and June tries too. You say she's looking for somebody, but June, she tries to like twist what she's saying to her into Gilead, speak like, God wouldn't want you to rush. God would understand. I feel like she is trying to help Eden a little.
Yeah.
But then when she says the gender traitor thing, that's when June, her face.
No, but I think
changes.
even before that, though, she's still trying to protect him by trying to, like, because Eden's like, we need to have our wedding night now, and June's like, give it time. Like,
yeah,
like she's trying to kind of ease her, like, guide her to just give him a moment to figure out what to do.
She's very biased.
Yeah, it's also just nice that like June seems like she's like, what kind of adding on to what Kate was saying, like, she's trying to reframe a nicer version of like what will go over with somebody who's been brainwashed by Gilead. Like, it's like she's trying to say, like, you don't actually have to do that. I don't agree with that, but she can't say it the way she wants to say it, so she has to kind of couch it in like this Gilead speak.
Right.
But it's like, it's really smart actually to kind of like subtly get into her like mind about like, maybe you don't have to do these horrible things that you don't want to do.
Yeah,
that's smart.
I don't know if that's what her intention was, but it comes across like,
you certainly don't need to rush.
I mean, she's done that several times, I feel like, with different characters, where she talks to them in a way where it's like just easing them into a new concept, kind of.
Yes, and it works.
Yeah.
Which June is the leader, so I feel like I think you're right. That's just how she always has been.
I think I think she's trying to be kind to Eden, but agree that she's mostly, trying to protect herself and Nick. But then when she drops the gender traitor line, you can see June's like face get very upset, but she's trying to smile.
That terror is palpable at that point. She's genuinely afraid, and that's when it changes immediately.
Yeah, she hadn't occurred to her.
Yeah.
But in a not so serious note, that just always makes me kind of laugh too, because she's accusing Nick of being a gender traitor, and I feel like June has a montage of like him giving her multiple orgasms going through her mind while she's sitting there pregnant with his baby. Like,
when she says, "I'm sure that's not true."
Yeah. Yeah, we know. We all know.
He like emphasizes
not
sure.
true. Like, I need you to listen to me, Eden. It's 100% not true.
And then she says, hold on to him. He's going to make a great father to your children, which, you know, as you mentioned earlier in the script notes, she told Nick that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it pains her to say that, though.
Oh, it does.
I think so too.
Come
on, like this whole situation. Ugh.
But it's sad though. I just, that gender traitor thing though, I think that's the first moment like June realizes that this girl, even though she's young and naive, she's dangerous.
She's
now.
dangerous.
Like,
yep, absolutely. And you see that across her face. Before that, she was a child. They were trying to just like help, or I don't know.
What's her bedtime?
Yeah, exactly. And now all of a sudden, oh, she could get him killed. Shit. And then Serena calls June into the kitchen, offered, and says, surprise, I thought you'd enjoy some time with your friends while you recover. And by the way, how does she know which ones are her friends anyway? She guessed well, apparently, because
she must have.
Those are her besties. And the song Peace by Norah Jones is playing in the background, which is appropriate as this brunch is her peace offering. And she says to say grace, and she's very excited to serve them like quiche or something. And says, I'm sure you have a lot to catch up on. And immediately, I don't even know who said it, but we've been sent fine weather.
Which, by the way, again, Serena is like hovering so much. I feel like a lot of people in this episode, and again, I know we called out Max for his facial acting, but Lizzie was insane in this episode too with her facial acting.
Yes.
Because I feel like in general, everybody's just hovering over her in this episode, and she's clearly like freaked out and annoyed by it.
Right.
And then combined with Serena being like way too nice, I think it's like eerie.
Yeah, so the weather didn't go over too well. I mean, it didn't go far because that's how it was built. And then Serena tries harder to get them to chat, and stupidly focuses on Offglen and pretend it's like one of your walks. What do the two of you talk about? And of course, Offglen's had her tongue cut out recently. So it's super awkward. And June kindly steps in to save Serena by talking about a brunch place they used to eat at in Boston. And personally, I think she should have let her flounder. I would have.
I kind of wonder though if she's trying to help her friends, because here you have all these handmaids, and now Serena, the wife, the evil one, wants to like have them chat about things that they really shouldn't be talking about. So I feel like none of them are talking because they're freaked out. Like, why are we here? Why? What is she doing?
Yeah. Is it a trap? Yeah. That would be in my head all the time if I was in Gilead. Is this a trap? Like,
and then Serena's trying to be in with them, like having a conversation with all of them, like she's one of them or something. And it's
girl
like,
talk.
Go away, bitch.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, Magnolias. I used to go there. Who knows? Maybe we were there at the same time. Serendipity.
So it's like another like huge slam of like, we used to have the same life, and now
look at us.
Right.
Now you're my slave. Yeah.
And again, June kind of saves, and she says, someone's awake. She offers, and she looks at Offglen first, which is kind because she can't participate otherwise. Does she want to feel a baby kicking? And then everybody comes and everybody loves it, and they all agree it's going to be a girl.
Once again, everybody's touching her belly but Nick.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
And Serena puts her hand on her shoulder and leaves her. By the way, similar to how Nick put his hand on her shoulder when she told him about the pregnancy, and leaves the room. And then Serena goes out to the greenhouse, and she seems super happy. Everything seems positive about growth and life, and all of a sudden the death and destruction of the last episode is gone. But she gets lost in thought, remembering the lecture at the school where Fred forced her to go back in. So,
well, actually, I thought Serena was upset, and that's why she went to the greenhouse.
Did you?
That's what I thought too. I thought she was sad.
Oh, you guys are probably right then. Tell me.
Because everybody was now focusing on June, and I feel like that June was digging at her by saying, "Oh, the baby's moving," and then asking the handmaids to feel her belly and not Serena.
Right.
So I felt like Serena got jealous, and that's why she went. And then I thought it was interesting that she's planting bulbs. It's almost like she's not the one pregnant growing this baby. So it's almost like she's using this greenhouse to grow her, she's trying to get that control back.
Exactly what I thought. Yeah.
I felt it was more she was upset because she was isolated. So like when she left the room, the handmaids were all together and they were feeling June's stomach, and they had this community. She had people to care about her, that genuinely cared about her, that wanted to be with her.
And Serena doesn't.
And they didn't want her around. Like, you see how they all opened up the second they thought Serena was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I thought it was her like separating herself and feeling really isolated.
Interesting. And Serena doesn't
Yeah.
have people like that in her life, period. You know, the wives aren't like that at all. They're not as close as the handmaids. So that's really interesting. And then, yeah, so she's back at Lost in Thought at the lecture again, where she had left because of the violence, and Fred's forcing her back into the angry crowd. She doesn't want to go, right? She doesn't want to talk. He's telling her to.
I think so.
He's saying, you know, you got to speak. And she starts yelling, let me speak. You want me to stay silent, but that's not going to change what's happening in our country. You're spoiled and privileged, and you're living in an academic bubble. The rate of healthy births has dropped 61% in the last 3 months. That's a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
The future depends on what we do today. The human race is in danger. Every one of you, your biological destiny is about us all. Biological destiny is a term they love.
I mean, look, like any stopped clock, she's right. Like declining births is a big problem and they probably should address it, but
not the way that they do.
Turning women into concubines and not letting them have any rights is absolutely not the way to deal with it.
Literally, the world that they've created is not worth living. Everyone is miserable down to the most powerful people. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But again, we've said this many times, for people who care so much about babies being born, I mean, they're treating June like every way you should not treat a pregnant woman.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's not about babies.
So it's like they obviously don't care as much as they say they do.
So the woman says Twitter's blowing up, and someone shoots that woman, and then also shoots Serena. And then you flash back to Serena showing June the nursery. She says it's been a lot of fun setting up, and she's clearly looking for June's approval, and June tells her it's beautiful.
Which, by the way, like when June's walking up the stairs to follow her to the nursery, like she looks like it's clearly painful for her because she's thinking of Hannah's nursery.
Yep. And but June, like June is fully understood at this point. She's at her like most powerful, right? Serena likes her, she wants to please her, and so she goes for it. She tries to take advantage of the moment by bringing up Hannah and the stars on the ceiling of her bedroom at home, and says, if I could just see her, it would just make me feel so much better, just to know she's okay.
You can see the power play really starting to come in between these two now, because Serena says that she'll be the best mother she can be to her child, not June's, right? So she's already starting with the digs.
Yeah.
And I think she's starting to like spiral. Like nice Serena is going away because she's lost her power, right? Like, and so now she's trying to get it back, which is what makes this scene just turn bad, you know?
Yeah.
And this is another place where June is so genuine seeming too. Like the way she's talking to Serena. I mean, you know, it's manipulation only because you like know that's her game, but like, and you know that she is not going to be genuinely nice to her captor. But like
the fact is it's genuine. Her desire is genuine.
Yeah,
so
her emotion and everything is completely genuine, and it's honestly makes what Serena does even more fucked up because it's just like
right before that though, she makes another dig at Serena where she mentions Luke. She says, oh, my husband, and we did things as a family, and I feel like she's digging at her because obviously Fred and Serena are not like that. So that's where I noticed like the little things between them where but then once June starts talking about Hannah and wanting to see her, I think that's her not really playing games. That's her genuinely just trying to see if Serena can be like a human for once and show her like, here, you want to be nice to me? Like, this is what you can do to make me feel better.
That's interesting because I agree with you now that you've said that, but I kind of read like the family, her comments about her family, her husband and Hannah in the room and everything as almost like ways to try to get Serena to feel bad because of all the things she took from her.
I feel like with everything with this show, it's very multifaceted.
More than one thing. Yeah.
So I think it's both, but I think she knows though that these are the ways she gets under Serena's skin because she knows that they don't have a good relationship. And as much as Serena wants this to be her child and Fred's, realistically, even if Serena got her wish and got this baby, she's never going to have the happy family, the three of them that June had with Luke and Hannah.
That's true, yeah.
Or that she would have with Nick and the baby. You know, it's just never going to happen for Serena.
Yeah. Okay, so so Serena just rejects her. She says absolutely not, and now Serena's crying too. She gets mad at her and tells her to get her stuff from downstairs and move back to her room. So it's a very short-lived piece that they had.
But this is again an example of Serena is nice in this episode until now, and now she's just done.
Yeah,
the cycle continues.
Yep, back to abusive.
I also feel like when she flips the switch in this scene, like when she's crying and stuff, I almost feel like there's a bit of like she started to have a feeling. Like she started to feel like slightly bad and just like aggressively went the other direction. Like it was almost like she was like trying to stop herself from having a genuine feeling for someone else.
Yeah. You said that perfectly.
Just trying to stop herself from being human.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah. So she aggressively overcorrects and sends June back to her room, and June's angry and she storms through the house, and Nick hears her and he's hot on her heels, no longer caring about like any appearance of caring about her, yelling after her. June.
I love that he was very clearly standing in the kitchen, probably trying to listen so hard to what they were talking about up the stairs, because he is like right out of the kitchen, right behind her.
Yeah, no.
But you know what? I feel like in this episode again, like everybody's hovering over June, and it's like Nick is hovering, but in a good way, where like she wants him to hover, I guess, you know, like he's the only person, even though he's hovering, like he truly loves her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can tell she's upset before he even really sees her. Like he's just like instantly like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Her footsteps, right? He's like, oh, her footsteps are different. There's something wrong with her.
Right. Entirely accurate. Also, he looks like Mr. Rogers to me. I don't know. It's funny enough to see him in black. But so he chases her in. What's going on? What's happened? And she's like, I don't know, she's pounding the sheets or something. And
she's packing.
Yeah, but like very aggressively, such that I feel like she's like,
but she's like slamming.
Yeah. She said, I thought she could be decent. I asked about Hannah. She is my daughter. I want to see my daughter. And he said, you know, she'd never do that. We will find a way. That's sweet. And she said, not if you're on the wall. So you have to sleep with Eden. And I think that catches him off guard quickly. She's 15 years old. Oh, you have to fuck someone you don't want to, Nick?
She was actually a lot more cruel in the script. She was supposed to call him I think she would say like, you poor baby or something, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. Like
it's cruel enough. And Nick says it's not fair. And that was not the right response either, but
not at all.
Yeah. But I don't know. I look at this. I don't know if I look at this scene different or what you guys think, but I don't feel like he's saying I can't, and it's not fair because he doesn't want to. I think he's saying it because he can't sleep with her because he loves June, and it's not fair to June. That's the way I took it.
Well, and because she's a child, but yeah.
I always assumed it was more because she was a child.
I think it's because she's a child.
I think it's that too, but I think he's also like trying, I don't know. I just took it kind of as, besides the fact that she's 15, he does
say I love you for that reason. It is a factor, but I think the primary factor is, yes, you have to sleep with Fred, but he's an adult. You're not hurting a child. I can't do this to a child.
And he's like disgusted by the concept of it.
I think he meant it in that like he physically felt like he could not because she was a child.
Yeah. I mean, it's not because of him, but like he has morals. He has a strong like moral compass, and he knows how wrong it is to have sex with a 15-year-old.
I think this was like the point where he was fine with just like, if I'm gonna die rather than do that. Like, he's not gonna sleep with a 15-year-old.
If June hadn't forced him, same.
Yeah.
But that's why I think she's acting this way though, besides the fact, because she knows that Nick is serious and he's going to do everything he can to avoid sleeping with her.
Yep.
And if she's nice to him about it or doesn't like, I don't know, force him to do it, he's just not going to do it, and he will die, and he will be okay with that because he's looking out for her. So I feel like she's, you know, again, we talk about the power dynamics, and, you know, Nick is a victim, but he's still a man in Gilead. So he's got, even though he's like a low on the totem pole, like he still has more power than her just because he's a man.
Mm-hmm.
People always talk about the fact that like Nick does so much for June and she doesn't do much for him. But I feel like this is one time where she can actually do something to protect him. And I think that's what she's doing here. Like, I think she's trying to be forceful with him to get him to realize like, and like kind of detach herself in a way to get him to realize like, you need to do this, and I'm not going to take no for an answer, and I'm doing this to protect you.
Yeah, she is.
The way she starts out like angry, kind of that like defensive, like I'm gonna hurt you to kind of push you to do something, very quickly turns into like genuine just emotional concern for him. Like, I don't think you've said that quote yet, but the next thing that she says after that, she says
I can't lose you.
I can't lose you,
which I do think is genuine, but I think it's also her knowing that the best way to get Nick to do something is to make it about her. So I 100% feel like she's telling him like, literally, I can't lose you because I love you.
Right. 100%.
So she can't say I love you yet. So this is her way of saying it. But also, I know how you operate, and you're gonna listen because I'm telling you, like, this is about me, you know?
Right. Exactly.
I think there was actually a quote from, I'm going to try and look it up right now. There's a quote from Max actually about that. It goes on throughout it's about the whole episode, but the part that's about this specifically is, it says, he starts to split at the seams, Max says. It makes him so uncomfortable, the whole Eden situation. He's so uncomfortable with it, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. And it's June who helps him navigate it because she's much less emotional. I think without her guidance, it would be more of a struggle for him. So I think it's interesting. He said she was much less emotional, because I think she was still very emotional. Right. But I think she was able to.
The thing is, she's learned to compartmentalize. She's had to because of her ritualized rape.
That's it. Yeah, she's able to be objective. She's like, yes, this is terrible, but you have to do it because this place is terrible.
You can do this and still remain a good person.
Yeah.
She's like examining the logic of the situation where he can't do that.
Which I feel like we see in that scene where they're talking in the beginning of the episode, where he's emotional. He's telling her, like, I think about you and our family. And June is trying to be the level-headed one, like, we got to be smart. We can't do this, or, you know, we shouldn't think about that. So I think Max, I think he's right.
Yeah. By the way, that I love you bomb. Like, so I watched this episode, the show at 11 o'clock a second it drops. And I was watching and I was not expecting it. Right. And my poor dog, she sleeps next to me while I watch. And I had my phone in my hand and I dropped it on the table. Frankie, yes. And I dropped my phone on the table and it scared the crap out of her. And she jumped up like she was shot. And I was like, I'm so sorry I woke you up, but Nick just said I love you. And
maybe she was just excited. Like, yeah.
Maybe she was. My long-suffering dog who deals with me watching this show. Bless her.
It was
very shocking.
It's so interesting that they haven't said it yet because they've so clearly loved each other for a long period of time. But I know Nick holds back because he doesn't expect anything back, and he knows that she had a life before and a husband before, and that's why he doesn't say it.
It's very complicated for her. Right. So because I think they know that they love each other. But
well, actually, that's a script note, Tina, in this scene when he says "I love you."
Yeah, she was actually supposed to turn around and say "I know."
See, they know they love each other.
Which is like a flip of the Star Wars, right?
I was going to say, this is Star Wars. That's why they cut it.
But yeah, so she was supposed to turn around and say, I love you. Or he was supposed to say, I love you. And she's going to say, I know, but she's your wife. But she's your wife obviously stayed and she didn't turn around. And then there was also a direction in the script for Nick that said, his true love just asked him to sleep with his 15-year-old wife. This is so messed up. And once again, understatement of the century.
Yeah.
Messed up is the one way to put it for sure. And also he was still completely unhinged, right? Like yelling, I love you in the middle of the house. He was still just not.
It was like a poor choice of moment to say I love you, by the way. But that's what you were saying, Ginger. It was a thing. That's a factor to him right now.
It's like bursting out of him. Like he's basically like, look, if I have to do this, like you need to know that I love you. Like we're not gonna just
I'm doing it.
You know. Yeah. So I feel, and then it like breaks my heart because June is trying to keep up this tough facade to get him to do this, to protect himself. But then you could see her heart breaking and her eyes fill up with tears. And it's like, it's just so awful.
Yeah. Especially when she goes back to her room and she has that moment behind the door.
Yeah.
I feel you can really see the weight of what she just asked him to do and like what he said.
Her breakdown.
Hit her.
Yeah. She held it together until she shut her door. And then that was it.
Yeah. I think he needed to say, I love you to her, for her, and for himself. Like he needed to have said it before
that
go through with any of that.
Which I'm sure he's thinking to himself, like, the first time I tell her I love her, this is not what I envisioned. No. This is not like the romantic way she should be hearing this, you know?
Yeah, no time left though.
A lot of out of place first in their relationship.
But it comes out when it comes out.
So she gets to the room though and breaks down, but then she looks up and her room is back to the way it used to be.
It is, yes.
Which I think that was Serena, right?
Yeah. I said, goes upstairs. She shuts her door, looking at her room. She's back in order and leans against the door, looking sick about what she just told Nick he had to do and knowing that he has to do it. And then you flash to the hole in the sheet and Nick and Eden praying. And Nick double checks. Are you sure? Because he always checks in all the time. And I hate the scene and I would like to move quickly through it.
Agree.
Nick goes to undress, just staring out the window towards June's to remember why he has to do this, because she literally like can't live without him, and Eden's going to turn him in if he doesn't do this. And in Gilead, 15 is not a child, apparently. In Gilead, there's different laws.
He looks so like sick.
He looks so sick. As do I when I watch this.
Same.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so opposite of like any of his, even like when him and June were forced to be together by Serena.
Yeah.
Like there was still at least some,
it was different,
care and connection between them. And this is just so opposite.
Yep.
Yeah. I wish they just not included this at all, but that's.
Yeah. That's pretty disturbing. Yeah. When he turns around and like you see like his eyes, I feel like you can just see his soul like drain out of his body. Like you just like.
He looks dead inside. You're correct.
And then, unlike with June, he keeps his dog tags and his other clothes on. He's like making this as minimal as possible. And Eden says, "You're going to be a great father, Nick," which is what you were saying, Tina, and reminds him.
Yeah. So because June was originally supposed to say that to him, which is why I think it's interesting they cut it. So there was a note in the script about how when Eden says it to him there, he is reminded of June saying it to him previously. And it reminds him of why this needs to happen. And then, he carries on with what's going to happen. So I thought it was interesting they cut that from their scene.
Yeah, but they do it. The music is awful. She grabs his elbow like June did when Serena was in the room. It only lasts like, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds. I was going to rewind and count, but then I was like, no, I can't watch that again. It's unbearable for me to watch. So
there's no kissing. Like she's holding onto his arm, like reminiscent of what June did, but she's like gripping, like death grip on his arm,
Yeah, and it's her first time. And
because it hurts her, I'm sure.
Yeah,
like, she's in pain. Yeah.
Is it called first blood for that? I don't even know. Let's move on. And then afterwards he checks in again. Are you okay? So he's always checking in, but that was just the worst.
And I do love though how that shot of them after is upside down, because I imagine that's how Nick's world felt. Completely upside down at that point. Yeah.
Oh, and she says, "I can't wait to see if it worked. If not, we'll just keep trying." And Nick looks sick again, right?
But that disturbs me though, because here you have this girl, like I understand she's like pious and all that, but she's still a 15-year-old girl who just lost her virginity, and like it's so sad that she doesn't even realize that this is not the way it should go.
Gilead fucks you up.
Like, I don't think she understands, like, it shouldn't be this, like, soulless, Yeah. And you would think she would be upset because it hurts and it's just not normal. But the first thing she says is, "I hope it worked." Like, it's like the brainwashing is so strong with her.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's shocking.
Back to Serena at the greenhouse. Lots of beautiful flowers, by the way. And Fred comes in, said the green thumb strikes again. Rita said, "You've been in here all afternoon." And she's just like, "I'm fine, Fred, let me be." And you hear Fred like replaying what Lydia instructed, saying, "I know she can be difficult." Serena says, "She's devious, always plotting. She's always wanting more. She wanted to see her child from before. Can you imagine?" It's like appalling to me that she's like appalled that someone would want to be their child. Can someone just be like, "Hey, Serena, why don't you take 1 second and imagine what you would feel like if your child had been taken away? Would you like to see her?"
Right.
Not capable of that.
No.
She stops herself from doing that.
She cuts herself, and Fred's being nice, like fussing over her hand, and it reminds her of him in the hospital after she got shot. And then we flip to that, and now Serena's upping the language in the new speech they're writing, calling the shooter a terrorist. And she says she doesn't think the shooter will be caught. And Fred said, "I shouldn't have let you start speaking in public." And she tore her hand away and said, "You stop that and be a man."
I mean, it's like such toxic masculinity and patriarchy. Like it's just so, it's like mind-blowing,
It is, but that's their thing. The next scene is in the woods with the guy that shot Serena, and he's looking in his eyes and says, "God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every purpose and for every work. Do you know what it was like to see my wife in pain, to pray to God for him to save her?" And then I didn't even notice the man's wife before that next to him, but Fred shoots the wife and he says, "Well, now you will. Now you do."
I think they purposely keep her out of the frame so that it's more shocking when it happens.
Yeah.
And it is. It's cold.
And also, like, this is how Fred took the "be a man" comment, was like, "Let's go shoot a woman in the woods."
That is a very good point, Violet.
Yeah. It's just such like the epitome of toxic masculinity, and it's just it. I mean, it's what Gilead is based on.
Yeah. I wonder if the Bible quote was accurate or not. I like how people misquote in this, but I didn't.
Well, it's just funny again how this is all supposed to be Bible based, yet none of this follows anything that Jesus ever preached.
Right. And then we flash to June. She hears footsteps. I think, again, she probably thinks it's Nick, but it's Fred. And you see her having to rearrange her face, like, because of it. And then
which, by the way, there's a thunderstorm happening outside, which I feel like is setting the mood of how everybody's feeling. She's just laying there probably thinking about what Nick is doing right now.
And she says, you shouldn't be in here. And he's like, that's not the welcome I was expecting. Your wife would be very angry. This is my house. I hope she can manage things here at home, but now I know I need to step in and keep the peace, which is exactly what Lydia had fed him earlier. And he says, I have something for you. And he gives her a picture of Hannah, and she's, you know, the way that you would be if you hadn't seen your child in years. And she's so moved. She's crying. And Fred's back to like, focus on me. It's good to see you happy again. And then he like tries to collect his payment, touching her like stomach and then moving up to her breast, saying I missed you. And it's so painful to watch.
Doesn't he say her boobs feel different too?
Yeah.
When he goes back to Violet's thing from earlier when he was creepily looking at him.
Yeah. After he gets up there and June closes her eyes like tightly to like try to deal with it. And he's
because I think she's like thinking she's pregnant, so she doesn't have to do the ceremonies anymore. This is like her get out of jail free card. And here he is like doing what he should not be doing.
Right.
Yeah. And also just the whole like fact that he basically used like he's going directly against Serena to get what he wants out of June.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting because like Serena like refused to give her any information about Hannah. And he's like, actually, if I do give her information about Hannah, not only will she like me more than my wife, but the comparison, it's like he's trying to like be better than Serena in her eyes so that she'll like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also he's hurting Serena. So it's like, he's just doing dirty things to everybody.
Maximum damage to the house. Yeah. But he gave June the picture. So she's like, all right, fine, I'm going to take it. And so she like squeezes her eyes shut and says, I missed you too, while he's molesting her. And he says, feels different. I like it. And June's like trying to keep her cool, but it's just so painful to watch. The show is unbelievable at making it so uncomfortable to watch.
And I want to point something out too, because I actually researched the subchorionic hematoma that she had. And actually, when you have those, they usually put you on bed rest. Well, depending on how bad it is, they put you on bed rest, and you're actually not supposed to do anything sexual because orgasms can make your uterus contract and make you bleed more and make you possibly miscarry. So, I mean, maybe Fred doesn't know this, and obviously they don't mention it in the show, but like...
I'm quite sure Fred doesn't know that.
No, I'm sure he doesn't, but it's just like, this is even more dangerous for him to be doing this because she could actually have a miscarriage.
Right. And so she puts up with it, and then he starts aggressively kissing her and obviously wants to have sex, and she stays him and says, oh, I want you too, but I'm worried about the baby. And that works, and he starts to leave probably in anger, and she's catches his hand to like connect with him and say thank you and look in his eyes like genuinely, and he says our little secret, so of course, and anyway, as soon as he leaves, she pushes like the nastiness of all that away and stares at Hannah like just sobbing and holding her to her face and her heart, and it's so sad as a mom. Like I just cannot imagine.
And she's like clinging to that picture because that's what she's got right now. And it's like, I just think of everything she went through. Forget about the whole series so far, just in the last episode, and then what she's enduring now. Like, I don't understand how she has not completely lost her mind. Like, it's amazing that she's able to at least take this picture of her daughter and cling to that to keep herself going, you know?
Yeah. Then we go to the opening of the Rachel and Leah Center, and Fred's welcoming all the other commanders and handmaids. And Nick is looking really nervous, and he sees Price and runs towards him, and this is an unbelievable show, but this scene to me is the most out of character scene on the planet.
I don't understand it. I agree with you. It doesn't make sense. Like I have here, it feels uncharacteristic for him to want to leave June. Like
it's beyond out of character. She's just told him I can't lose you, and he slept with a 15-year-old in order to allow her to not lose him, and now he's gonna say, oh, I need out of this house, protect the handmaid. As if anyone would protect the handmaid except him. It upsets me.
I feel like I understand where he is right now mentally. Like, I mean, he's desperate. Like, first of all, he like runs to Price, which Nick doesn't do that. He doesn't move that fast. Like, he's a very
yeah. He like jumps over a wall to get to Price.
So I feel like there's your first sign that he's losing it, because I think him sleeping with Eden made him realize like this just happened, and if it didn't work, it's gonna keep happening. And June is in this house next door, and they keep torturing her, and eventually, like I feel like he's realizing like she's going to have this baby and they're going to keep it. And then June's going to be going away and it's just never going to end. And I think he's reeling and he's like, reality is hitting him. So he's not thinking clearly. So I understand his state of mind, but I think him going to Price even isn't that like uncharacteristic, but him asking him to actually make, move him so that he's not in the same house as June just again does not seem like something he would do.
Yeah, I think he's just freaking out, like you said. And I think also because he sees how much has happened just like in the last few episodes to June because of their relationship and because of him. I don't know. Like she almost died because of all the stuff Serena put them through. So I don't know. I kind of get the sense that obviously he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have asked that. And I think he just made a mistake because he was so like overwhelmed and confused and just like terrified.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole episode we've been saying he's not in his right mind.
Yeah, totally.
Which I guess is why it feels uncharacteristic.
But he's not in his right mind in the way in which he is valuing June, and he's now dismissing her. And you guys are crazy.
I don't think he's dismissing her. I think he thinks that
he's
that would
leaving
be better.
her to die in the Waterford house alone, and his baby. I disagree with this. I disagree with this scene.
Yeah, I don't
respectfully.
I agree that it would have been better if they hadn't had this in there because it's confusing and it seems like it's the only thing that really goes against. Like you have to kind of like fight to come up with the reason why he would have asked for that. Like we're having to kind of like dig to get it. But I do think you can justify it by saying that he thought that he was going to protect her, even though it was like ill thought through. Like he didn't think it through.
Please,
properly.
why would Price protect her?
That's true.
Why? He does not. Nobody cares about her except Nick.
I think Nick thinks he would, though.
I think Nick thinks he would.
How? What? He's not there. He knows how abusive it is in that house.
Because I think that he would probably have like given a bunch of dirt on Waterford at that point.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if he was going to rat everyone in the house out, and they would have pulled her out of the house. And then in that sense, she's protected. I mean, as protected as you can be in Gilead. But
I think he was ready to spill everything he had on Waterford at that point.
In my brain, I blocked this scene out.
Yeah, I don't care for it. It doesn't make sense.
I think the problem with the scene though is I think they're trying to show Nick's state of mind, which is, like we just talked about. But I think the way they went about it could have been written better because like Violet said, like we're trying to think of reasons why he would do this, but we also love the character of Nick. And there's people out there who don't see it this way or don't look into it deeply. And I think it's very confusing. But also, I kind of think this episode is almost like a flip-flop from the last episode where June is like losing her mind and she's sinking into this. She's not thinking rationally and she's severely depressed. And Nick is trying to protect her. And I almost feel like the roles are flipped in this episode where Nick is losing his mind now and he's not thinking rationally. And she's the one trying to like help him.
I like that. It doesn't get me all the way there, but I like it.
Yeah.
So then it flips to the kitchen and June says she's full. Serena tells Rita to wrap it up and she'll eat the rest later, all of it. So it's like the opposite of the smoothie scene. She's not putting up with that anymore. And Eden walks in seeming super happy and June understands what that means. So she's like blinking back tears. She knows that Nick has done what she asked. And Serena says, oh, offered was as pleasant as you, Eden. So Serena then throws her knitting needle on the ground to teach Eden how to teach her servants how to behave. And June goes to retrieve it slowly and hands it to her slowly. And then Serena tells Eden to do it. She really just can't stop herself from being evil.
It's so demeaning, though.
Very demeaning. And Eden looks nervous. But June even gives her a little, like, okay nod. And then Eden drops it.
I don't think Eden understands. She definitely does not realize the power play between these two at all.
No, not at all.
Like she's this poor little girl stuck in the middle. It's sad.
And so she drops it and June all of a sudden feels a cramp. Oh, I felt a cramp. Shrug. I don't want to hurt the baby. So then she leaves and then Eden has to pick up the needle that she just dropped. And then June goes to her room and fawns over the picture of Hannah. So I guess June wasn't going to the Red Center opening.
Yeah. Maybe because she's very pregnant.
Yeah.
I love that shot of the picture in front of her face and the reflection of her face. Yeah. Such a good, well-framed shot.
The photography in this show.
Crazy.
So then we go to the opening of the Rachel and Leah Center, and Fred is honoring the handmaids, and the blinds rise up to show the handmaids. And before that, actually, they show the handmaids inside the center on the upper floor, the ones that are in there already. And then he's honoring the handmaids, and the blinds rise, and you see, or the curtains rise, and you see the handmaids that are outside lining the building. And Offman starts to randomly walk inside, and all of her friends are watching her like, what the fuck? What's she doing? Opens the door, walks inside, and turns to face them. And Fred, who is still talking, then stops to interrupt and says, "It's not time yet. Tell her to go back outside."
But she's warning them.
I know. She shows them. Yeah. She shows them the trigger for the bomb, or what is it? Is it a grenade? Is it a trigger for a bomb?
It's a grenade, I think.
It's a grenade. Yeah. She pulls it back. Okay. Yeah. So she turns to show them the grenade so that they have they can start running. And they do start running.
When Fred is telling her to go back, it's like the most condescending thing ever.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's so patronizing.
Yeah. He's like she's a child that like made a mistake or not doing what she was told to do.
Yes.
But then he's like, "Oh, someone go get her." Like he can't be bothered.
Like a dog again.
Yeah.
Got off their leash.
Yeah, that's exactly how it sounds. So she gives the handmaids, her friends, a warning by showing it to them, and they start running, and then she starts running towards Fred, towards the interior, and the grenade goes off, and the whole new Rachel and Leah Center explodes. And I love the song that they play. And it's like, some people think little girls should be seen and not heard, but I think, and it's perfect for her because she's lost her tongue, and also she was the happiest handmaid.
Yeah,
they fucked up the happiest handmaid. I
was gonna say her journey is like, she started out lecturing June about how like this is the life she wanted because she's been cared for, and now she's missing a tongue and she's the one blowing up this place. Like
literally destroy.
This is what Gilead
everyone.
does to people.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free analysis into season 2, episode 6. If you guys are longtime fans of the show, come find us on Wednesday when we do our deep dive into the same episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.
I think about us, the three of us, what we could be. I think about it all the time.
Please. It's terrible.
No, it's not. I know June. She's my friend. I care about her. How's your day going? You look pretty.
Thanks. I wore it just for you. Her father's a driver named Nick. He helped me to survive. Yes, you can, because I can't lose you.
I'm not gonna let anything happen to you.
What about you?
Your girlfriend is a badass.